Stephen, we're going to have a look at how the markets have been reacting to that news of a possible beginning to a breakthrough in Washington.
Exactly, an almost deal. The debt ceiling is what's really been worrying the market. 6 days left for the US before it effectively runs out of borrowing power. That's what the markets have been looking for. So any sign of a resolution has proved very positive. Starting in Asia, the Nikkei closing up 1.48%. Also big gains on the Hang Seng and the Kospi in Seoul. Shanghai Composite up over 1% too. Plenty of optimism around. That Republican offer, of course, came before Wall Street closed too. We saw a big jump in shares to the Dow Jones, the Nasdaq and the S&P 500, all up over 2%. The Dow has actually clawed back nearly all of the losses that it suffered since that government shutdown began on the 1st of October.
Now, here in France, there's been a court ruling, there is a court ruling due on the controversial gas extraction method known as fracking.
Yeah, fracking or hydraulic fracturation has been banned in France since 2011. France's constitutional court is to rule on that law later. Now, this is after a challenge from an American drilling firm, Schupbach Energy. They challenged it on the basis that they had 2 licenses for exploration before this law was passed, and those licenses, of course, were revoked as a result. If this is overturned, fracking, very controversial method, there's lots of environmental concerns around it. If the ban is overturned, now Francois Hollande has said that he would not allow fracking for as long as he's president, but he said this could reopen the debate in France. There are others arguing that this could help restart France's sluggish economy if fracking were to be allowed.
Now we're going to move on to a surprising bit of news now, which is that France has topped the League of Millionaires in Europe. One would have thought they'd all left by now.
Yeah, apparently not. There's still quite a few around. This is Credit Suisse's global wealth survey. France topping the league in Europe, 2.2 million millionaires, if you're counting them in dollars, of course, here in Europe. That's more than in Germany, in the UK, or even in China. Now, the US tops the league overall, 13.3 million millionaires living there. France, mostly it's down to property wealth because the value of property has risen so much in France. That's managed to increase how much people are worth. This, of course, not the story in Spain, where property prices have fallen dramatically during the financial crisis, down 36% on average, more than 70% in some places. That's drawing some French people over the border to invest in a holiday home there. In one Costa Brava resort, there's even a whole community of French businesses which have sprung up to deal with the influx of people from France. Oliver Farry has more.
Dozens of yachts lined up in the harbour, tidy houses dotted amid the palm trees, good bakeries serving real French croissants, and French-speaking businesses. It looks like a coastal resort on the Côte d'Azur, but we're on the other side of the Pyrenees, in Emporia Brava in Spain. With decent pensions, Parisians Patrick and Nicole Pochard are looking to invest in a top-of-the-range home.
It has a superb swimming pool, which is fairly big.
And there are bargains to be had here. Like many French people, the Pochards are taking full advantage of Spain's economic crisis.
Houses like this one were about 600,000 euros. Now you'll find them at about 495,000. So that's definitely a plus. Property prices have dropped by 30 to 40%.
For a similar waterside home in France, they would have had to pay twice the amount.
We couldn't do this in France. It's really too expensive, and with all the taxes and charges, it's impossible.
Over the past 5 years, the town has become a little corner of France. At lunchtime in this restaurant, French is the predominant language. The owner is French too. Magali Vigny saw a business opportunity and opened the creperie. She has grand ambitions.
We're going to extend the business, open a children's play area. We're relying on more people coming, so we're very optimistic.
But with Russian and Qatari investors also eyeing up property on the coast, prices are likely to rise again.
Let's take a quick look now at some of the day's other business stories. And the former mayor of Detroit has been sentenced to 28 years in prison on corruption charges. Kwame Kilpatrick was the mayor of the city from 2002 until 2008 as Detroit slipped further into debt. His trial heard how he spent $840,000 of the city's money beyond his salary during his time in office.
The electronics manufacturer Foxconn has admitted that student interns were forced to work overtime and night shifts in breach of company policy. The complaint refers to a factory in China's Shandong province where the firm has also admitted using interns as young as 14. Foxconn, which of course came under fire for its working conditions after a string of staff suicides back in 2010.
And the founders of BlackBerry are looking to buy back the struggling company from its shareholders. Mike Lazaridis and Douglas Fragan have told Wall Street regulators they're exploring options to purchase the 92% of shares in the company they don't already own. It comes after another shareholder, Fairfax Financial, said it was considering a bid for the smartphone maker.
Now, finally, Stephen, brand Beckham is once again proving its worth.
Yes, Victoria and David still managing to pull in the cash. The companies associated with brand Beckham reported profits of almost €5 million last year. The star performer was Beckham Ventures, which is linked to Victoria Beckham's clothing line. Its sales doubled, more than doubled in fact, to over €18 million worth. One of the company's directors, thought to be David Beckham, although we don't know for certain, got a payout of around $16.6 million. So they're still raking in the cash on brand Beckham.
Have a look there at the very latest business headlines. Thank you very much indeed. 22 minutes past 8 here in Paris. We're going to have a look at web news. We begin in Azerbaijan and its recent poll. It's emerged on the internet that even before the votes had been cast, some of the results were being counted in web news.
It came as no